who are going to go back to your campuses and convert 10 other people.
Conservatives have targeted one of the biggest liberal strongholds, college campuses. Students are training.
We all know this. How do we film our videos, guys? Horizontal. Heck yeah. If you film your videos vertically.
We need a student who follows the instructions, creates a viral video, and makes your campus explode. Tonight at 9 on 93.9 FM, WNYC.
You're listening to Midday on WNYC. I'm Jonathan Capehart, and I'm speaking with New Yorker staff writer Nicholas Schmindel about his latest piece, Hack Back. American companies that fall victim to data breaches want to retaliate against the culprits, but can they do so without breaking the law? So Nicholas, before we went to a break, we spent the first part talking about Sean Carpenter, who was working for Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, and he on his own, with a small group of people, undertook a secret mission to figure out what was going on with the computers at Lockheed Martin. He suspected. Can't I speak today? I'm sorry, Nicholas. He suspected that it was the Chinese military or intelligence agencies, and he found the proof of that.
Right. So ultimately, the way that hackers tend to operate is by using what are called hot points, HOP points, and these are compromised servers, and they will, if I was, for instance, planning to hack into WNYC, I wouldn't sit here from my office and do that directly, but I might first hack into a corner store in Bucharest, and then hack into something else in Australia, and sort of jump all over the world, confusing, sort of smudging my trail. And so Sean Carpenter was very aware of this tactic and this technique, and so he was following them across a series of hot points. And he landed at one in South Korea, and inside of that he found all of these documents that had been stolen. And then he was able from there to follow them one more jump, and that final jump landed him at the gateway of a server in Guangdong, China, that he determined was associated with the Chinese government, military intelligence in some fashion, and that gave him the confidence that he had ultimately landed at the final destination.
And so, wasn't Carpenter who said that chasing the hackers was difficult, in part because the internet enables anonymity? What are some of the steps the hackers took to create anonymity?
Right. Well, so you could do. We all enjoy some of we all can enjoy some of the benefits of anonymity on the internet. I mean, you don't need to use your real name. You could use a virtual private network, a VPN, that would indicate that you are actually signing on from a location other than your own. And so there were a series of sort of small measures that they had taken. I mean, no one who was doing anything malicious on the internet or is going to sign in under, malicious hacker number one. And so, and this is actually, this is an important point, I think, because this is what makes and reveals hacking back to be such a flawed enterprise, a potentially flawed enterprise, which is because it's very difficult to know where these are coming from. Even if you are the U.S. government and you have this tremendous intelligence gathering apparatus that would help you confirm what someone sitting at a computer console could say, this attack came from country X.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have, the government is able to listen on phone calls and have sort of sources inside of these foreign governments that can confirm those kinds of things. And so Sean was dealing with an admittedly limited stream of information to be able to make that calculation as well.
So you mentioned before we went to the break that Sean Carpenter was hopped up on caffeine and Nicorette because he was working on this in his off hours. But because he was aware of the tricks that the hackers could use to maintain their anonymity, he was afraid of stepping away from his computer at night. Was he worried that they would detect what he was doing and retaliate?
There was a little bit of that. I think that the bigger concern that he had of not stepping away from his computer was that he would lose the trail. think that he was concerned that if he wasn't watching, suddenly they would have whereas he had sort of a bead on them, say at hot point number 1. If he stepped away for too long, they might have sort of jumped 6 or 7 compromised servers and be have disappeared into a poof, and then it would be more difficult to find them. So long as he was glued to his screen during, which actually worked out fairly well for him, working what were effectively 2 jobs during working hours in China, in Eastern China, then they were on the same time zone. He and these Chinese hackers.
When he was in his off hours, so he only got a few hours sleep then.
Yes, he is a fascinating, high-strung individual who I don't think requires a great deal of sleep.
Now, I can't remember if you said this before we went to the break or soon after we came back from the break, but once he was able to trace the location of the hackers, he traced them to China.
Correct.
And then again, remind us of what he found on their servers.
Well, so prior to actually landing at the gateway to this server in China, he had arrived. He had followed them into a server that they had compromised in South Korea, and on that server, he found a load of highly sensitive national security secrets, which included blueprints for the Mars orbital reconnaissance rover, as well as some of the latest fighter jets that were in development by Lockheed Martin, as well as information on troop movement and body armor. And so it was these. Suddenly, for him, at that point, became less about corporate espionage, which is what the Chinese government has done for the past 20 years.
It's what they're known for.
Which is what they're known for. And for Sean, at that point, it became less of a corporate espionage concern and matter, and more of a national security one. And as I said earlier, that was the point that he then began working with and feeding information to the FBI.
Now, I know he did not he didn't talk to his bosses there at Sandia or Lockheed Martin, but once he discovered this, did he get in touch with his supervisors and tell them this, or did he skip them altogether and go right to the FBI?
He skipped them altogether and went right to the FBI.
So, by going to the FBI and having done what he did, which is hacking back and it's against the law, was he worried about being charged with a crime?
Sure. He was look, I mean, he had justified it to himself that what he was doing was for the public good. But he was also aware that if knowingly accessing a computer that you don't have authorization to do so is against the law, that he was certainly in violation of the law in a sort of in a strict sense. And so he was concerned, and in a fairly unusual step, the FBI, in fact, told him that they had received notification from the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Mexico that the U.S. Attorney's Office did not plan to charge him with any hacking crimes for the work that he was doing with them. And that letter later became public through the legal discovery process. His wife, however, remained concerned that they at that point did not have that letter, and they did not actually have any sort of formal agreement on paper that confirmed that Carpenter was doing this in conjunction with the FBI. So she was concerned as well that the Bureau was going to dump her husband and leave them with a massive mess. And so in order to protect himself, Sean actually wired his home with microphones and began recording all of his conversations with the FBI agents when they came to the house.
Yeah, and I was about to ask you about that. And I don't want to go into this, but I was wondering when I read that, is that against the law to record someone
we just grew up at a time in the early 80s where we didn't have a lot of stuff and we just had to invent all of our fun. We had to invent everything that we were doing, and so we were always sort of partnered in trying to make our lives interesting, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how you described each other, Jay. But I'm wondering, how would you describe Mark, and how would you, Mark, describe Jay? Jay, Mark, you go for. You've got 5 words.
No, it's funny. I mean, you bring that up, but like one of the main reasons we wrote this book is because the main question that Jay and I get asked over the years is, how do you work so closely with your brother? I would kill my sibling if I had to do that, and we've tried to answer it. We needed a 320-page book to dig into it, and we still didn't get it right. But we've had a lot of reductive descriptions for ourselves over the years. I do tend to be like a little more confident and brazen, and Jay has like an incredible patience and wisdom about him that is able to sort of see our projects through in a way that I can't, because I move a little too quickly and spasmodically, and that is true until it's not, and then we switch roles.
Yeah.
So
I think hard to pin the truth is like we're incredibly similar, but I think one of the fascinating things about the relationship and what we put in the book is that when you are tied at the hip and you are in this forced march of trying to do something impossible, you sort of become one being, and each person sort of like actually goes deeper into what they are specifically good at. And so Mark and I went through that experience of sort of I would get really I turned into a person that got really obsessive about detail, and Mark turned into a person that became even more confident and outwardly looking at where we were going next. And so that's something that we tackle in the book, and how that's a beautiful thing and also extremely hard personally.
You are listening to the voices of Mark and Jay Duplass. We're talking about their new book, Like Brothers, their incredible relationship as brothers, best friends, collaborators. I was going to say business partners, but I guess you're in a business.
Yeah, we are in a business. Yeah.
And so your career mantra could be, if you build it, it will come. Is it true that Sundance, we're fast forwarding from the karate movie to now, suddenly you're being asked by Sundance for your first feature film, The Puffy Chair?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So really what happened with us is, from that moment when we linked arms to try and make art together, we did become sort of one entity, and we were able to accomplish so many things by doing it on our own without any connections anywhere. Our first short film that got into Sundance was a $3 movie we shot in our kitchen, and The Puffy Chair was a movie that we made from $10,000 of borrowed money, and we've sort of continued that tradition today of just making things our way and on our own, and it was really
with no input from Hollywood system.
Not really. We found our ways to work within it, but essentially it has been the force of will of myself and Jay, and what really now is that our collaboration is, once we are so inextricably linked, honestly, these codependent soulmates that we were. Now we're married and we have kids, and we don't need to climb the mountain arm in arm. And how do we be ex-soulmates who are still intimate and close but have enough space to individuate, be who we want to be personally, have healthy relationships with our wives and children, and still be close? And that has been extremely difficult.
I was about to ask, how is that, or has that been working?
It's hard. Slowly, painfully, sensitively. There are tears. On average 3-hour work session. An hour of it is spent with us trying to figure out who we are and who we want to be, and we're also constantly thinking about, okay, of these 3 tiers of our intimacy, the business partners, the brothers, the best friends, we can't have all 3 of them engineering 100% at all times. It just doesn't work that way. We're in our 40s now,
and that's because you're married and you have other responsibilities.
You can't sleep in a twin bed anymore. Even beyond a relationship, even creatively, we
watching repeated trauma Black Americans has on Black Americans. How do you think this video is going to play out differently with other audiences, white audiences, for example?
I could definitely see it's uncomfortable to watch, but I really can't tell. Like, I could never, I think as a black man, it's really hard to predict what white people are gonna think of what we make, and I think even with working in Atlanta, we try not to think about that, and I think, I've talked to Donald about this a lot, but we talk a lot about, as creators who are kind of marginalized with our voice, we try to make stuff in a vacuum, in a way where we're not influenced by what was made